the low frequency model of BJT, the small signal model. In this lecture, I will cover the common emitter small signal model followed by a few applications of that particular model. Before to this lecture, I have discussed everything about the DC characteristics or DC analysis for the BJT and the corresponding circuit. So this is the first time I'm going to introduce you with the AC analysis, because when the AC signal present within a circuit, how the transistor behaves and how we can find out the voltage gain, current gain, input impedance, output impedance, and what are the importance of those input impedance and output impedance, all those stuffs I'm going to discuss in this particular lecture. At the beginning of this lecture, I have to answer again the same question: what is model and what is a low frequency model particularly? What is model? We have understood from my earlier lecture in the case of diode, forward bias diode and reverse bias diode. So model is basically comprised of the linear circuit elements which represents the response of the actual nonlinear device. But what is a low frequency model? In the case of model, we generally includes all the linear components, that means the resistor, capacitor, inductors. But in the case of low frequency model, we only consider the resistors, because the reactive elements, say for example capacitor, we consider the capacitor behaves as an open circuit for the range of operation, range of frequency we are operating in, and the inductors behave as a short circuit for the same range of frequency we are operating in. So in the case of low frequency model, only the resistors will be there as a linear element or as a component of the linear elements. So basically I'm going to discuss the three different models. First is the small signal model that will be discussed in this particular lecture. Next will be discussed the hybrid parameter model or the H parameter model that I will discuss in the next lecture, and to the next lecture I will discuss the RE model. These three basically is applicable for the low frequency model. In the derivation of the small signal model, I'm going to apply the differential voltage between each of every pair of the terminals while keeping the third terminal at constant voltage. At first, I have applied the differential voltage delta V within the base emitter terminal while I kept this collector terminal at a fixed voltage VCE. Due to the application of this differential voltage delta V, a differential base current will be produced, and that is denoted by this delta IB. That differential base current will produce a differential collector current and similarly the differential emitter current. So along with the response, if we consider the excitation, so they are going to tell me what the actual component can be applicable in order to simulate that particular response. So we can realize that particular component by, or we can consider the response and the excitation to realize the actual equivalent component that will be within that particular junction. Let's see how we can do this. So delta V is equals delta VB is equals to delta V, which is represented by the differential voltage I have applied at the, and that is producing the differential base emitter voltage. And we know the differential current, the collector current is equals to the base emitter voltage, or the collector current is related with the base emitter voltage through this equation. Therefore, the differential base emitter voltage will produce this differential collector current through this equation. Again, we know this collector current is related with the base emitter voltage through this transconductance. So therefore, this differential collector current will be equals to the differential base emitter voltage will be related to this transconductance factor. Now what is this? This collector current represents the output current and the base emitter voltage represents the input voltage for the common emitter configurations. So basically the output current, differential output current is resulting due to the differential change in this input voltage. So we can consider in this perspective that the output current is depending upon the input voltage. So this equation we can model as the voltage dependent current source. The source The current source depends upon the input voltage. Next is the base current. Once this differential collector current is defined, the differential base current also will be defined by this factor, the beta factor. And if you replace the expression for the collector current from the previous equation over here, so you will have this Gm divided by beta separated from this VB term. Now, what this particular expression is telling to you, this base current and VB current is for the same terminal. There is the base emitter terminal. So base to emitter voltage is appearing between this base and emitter terminal, whereas the IB current is also flowing within the base to emitter. If you consider some uh, linear element between the base and emitter, so this base emitter voltage is the voltage appearing that element, whereas this base current is flowing through that element. So what is that element? Obviously, if you take the ratio of this differential voltage to this differential current, so that will represent the simpler resistance. So this delta IC is equals to Gm times delta VB, that represents the uh, voltage dependent current source. There is a collector current, so that is why I have included this voltage dependent current source on the collector side. So this represents the collector, this one is the emitter. So from the collector to emitter, these current source exists, so simply one current source. And for the next circuit, I have assumed as VB is equals to V pi for the simplicity, because V pi is always will be equals to VB, and so therefore this V pi will appear on this side also. And next, the element between this base to emitter will be represented by simply a resistance, which is equals to beta by Gm, what I told in my last slide. Now I keep this base terminal at a constant voltage while I have applied the differential voltage at the collector terminal. But as we know that the collector terminal has no direct effect uh, on the collector current due to the differential voltage I applied on the collector side. So therefore, whatever the model I have obtained, that may be the final one, but the effect of this collector to emitter voltage appears through the early effect. So we have to study the early effect once again to understand or to find out if there exists any other component what can be added within this particular model. Let's see. From the early effect, we have seen earlier that this is the output characteristics of the common emitter configuration. We can see that this x-axis is the uh, collector to emitter voltage CVCE, while the y-axis is for the collector current IC. And we can see from here, as VC is increasing, the slope gets increased a slight. So the increase of the slopes represent the collector current is increasing due to the increase of this collector to emitter voltage, and that is obviously due to the early effect, because I have discussed lots of topic about lots of thing about the early effect, that when the collector to emitter voltage gets increased, the reverse bias gets increased. As a result, the minority carriers chances of the recombination between the minority carriers and the majority carriers gets reduced. So the more number of minority carriers can reach to the collector, and resulting in an increase of the collector current. So these are these findings. So the collector current is increasing as the VC is increasing. If you extend this curve beyond this negative axis of this VC, you will see that all of these curves are meeting at certain point on the voltage axis, and that voltage I have denoted by this VA, and this voltage is called the early voltage. And the equations what without early effect, I have obtained the dependency of this collector current on this VV is based on these simple equations. What generally this -1 term is neglected, because VB is operated on a larger voltage, so that we can approximate this e to the power factor. This is very greater than this -1 factor, and this expression which includes the early effect. And from this expression we can see that this without early effect expression is for VA is equals to infinity. So in general, we can see easily from here that these all of these curves will appear or should appear parallel to each other if VA goes to infinity. But in practical case, VA do not go to infinity, it has a finite value. So therefore this factor we have to include whenever we are considering the early effect. Now due to the presence of the early effect, the collector current is not only depending on the VB, it is also depending on the VCE. So in order to understand what is the actual effect of the VCE upon this collector current, or what is the actual linear component we can replace this effect of this VCE on this collector current, we have to do this differentiation of this collector current with respect to this VCE, and that differentiation is giving us that expression where the final expression is including IC and VA. Now what is the inverse of this ratio? So this represent IC represents the current through this terminal, that means the collector to emitter terminal, and VCE represents the voltage through this terminal, collector to emitter voltage. So if you imagine you are including some component between the collector to emitter, so this VCE represents the voltage drop across that element and the IC represents the current through that element. So similar uh, conclusion we can make what I have concluded for the IB, delta IB and delta VBE. So therefore, this differentiation, inverse of this differentiation, this delta VCE to delta IC is representing nothing but a resistance, and this VA divided by IC is a resistance which is appearing across this emitter to collector to emitter terminal. So therefore, along with the existing model, what I have derived in my earlier slide, another resistor will appear from the collector to the emitter, and that resistor is generally will be called the output resistor. The reason will be clear soon. Now let's see the effect of the early effect on the input characteristics. So already we have seen the due to the early effect, the base current gets reduced as the VCE gets increased, because the effective base width gets reduced, and that causes the uh, reduction of the recombination between the majority and minority carriers within the base region, and the component of the base current which is caused the uh, due to the recombination process, so that also gets reduced. So therefore the base current is reducing as VC is increasing, but the reduction of the base current is vary in magnitude in comparison with the common base configuration, where the reduction of the emitter current was greater, increasing of the emitter current was greater in comparison with the base current, because in the case of common base, with VCB gets increased, the input current which was I gets increased also, and they increased greater in magnitude in comparison with the base current in the case of common emitter configuration. So already we have lots of discussion on this particular topic. Now I'm going to discuss how such kind of variation we can include in our small signal model. So basically this VC represents the output voltage for right now, and this IB, which is I have plotted over here, represents the input current. So the input current gets influenced by the output voltage, and the output voltage increases, the input current decreases. This is one another important thing we have to keep in our mind. So let's see how we can model this. So previously we have seen the dependencies of the IC based on the VB and VC through this equation, and we have obtained our last model in my earlier slide, is this one where I have included this R naught only, and that is due to the early effect appearing on the output side. There is the collector to emitter side. Next, I'm going to investigate the effect of the early effect on the input side. Now, from this expression, we can see that VB, since both the VB and VC exist within this expression, so this VB also may depend upon the VC, and in order to find that dependency, I've taken the differentiation of this VB with respect to the VC, and I have assumed these conditions over there. So obviously the del IC del VC is equals to R naught, what I have already assumed, and VA is very greater than VC, but that condition I have applied once I have performed this differentiation, but not before that, because if you apply this condition before that, before applying this differentiation, you will see that there is no dependency of this VB upon this VCE. So VA is very greater than this VC and VT, and finally I have obtained this expression. So this expression, on the right hand side, that thing represents a ratio of two voltages. This VT represents the thermal voltage unit in volts, and this IC times R naught, it is also representing another voltage unit in volts. So basically this factor is uh, an unitless factor. So this delta V differential change in the base emitter voltage is related with the differential change in the collector emitter voltage through this unitless factor. I have denoted by C naught, and C naught is this one. So the differential change on the collector emitter side is reflected within the input side, and that is modifying the base emitter voltage also due to this factor, and that is the consequences of the early effect. And therefore the finally on the base emitter voltage, on the base emitter side, I have included this voltage source, because this is also a voltage, because this C naught is a unitless factor. So this represents another voltage source on the base emitter side. And look at these terminal polarities of this voltage source, because this voltage, as VC increases, IB gets reduced, so IB flows in this direction. So VB also will try to generate a current, along the opposite direction. So the polarity of the VC I have replaced over here in such a way that the IB current gets reduced if VC gets increased. So the reason behind the placement of the polarity is this one, and the reason behind the inclusion of the voltage source is this one, because this delta V gets modulated by this factor, and this factor is nothing but a voltage itself, because the C naught is an unitless factor. So the final circuit will be represented by, or final model of the BJT will be represented by this circuit, where on the input side this one resistor R pi and another voltage source is appearing, and this voltage source is basically appearing due to the feedback from the output side, as I have explained, and that is caused by early effect, and this resistor is due to the effect which includes the differential change in base emitter voltage and the differential resulting change in base current. This current source is due to the differential change in base emitter voltage, and that differential change producing the output current IC, and that I have included the GM. Initially, if the C naught, if you assume that there is no early effect, so these voltages will be 0, and you can place a short circuit across this terminal. Then VB will be equals to V pi. So this GM VB will be replaced by this GM times this V pi. Finally, this R naught I have included over here, and that counts the differential change in collector to emitter voltage to the differential change in collector current, and that is appearing also due to the early effect. Now we are moving to the next part, that is the applications of the small signal model for the common emitter configurations. In order to demonstrate the applications for the small signal model, I have considered the fixed bias first, because this one is the most simplest biasing configuration, and for the beginning purpose this one is much more suitable. Although in my next lectures, where I will discuss the H parameter model, there I will include the uh, voltage divided bias for the application part, because the voltage divided bias is the most efficient one, and that thing I have to incorporate it. But for the beginning, as a beginning, I'm in considering the fixed bias case. So before going to discuss all the AC parameters and all the applications associated with the small signal model, we have to consider a few things. First of all, look at the circuit. So this is the first time here this fixed bias circuit includes this AC signal over here, because in all my previous lectures I have shown you by this shown you the fixed bias circuit only using uh, this DC voltage source, and that establishes the Q point only. And here I have incorporated an AC signal along with the capacitor. This capacitor is important one, because if there exists any DC current due to the DC offset within that AC signal, so that DC current may deviate the Q point, which gets established due to the presence of the DC voltage. So therefore, this capacitor is to block the DC current if exists within the AC signal. Or you can say that if this signal is a mix of both the AC and DC, so basically the input of this circuit will be the pure AC signal, and the capacitor will block the DC part. Now, before going to discuss this thing, the application part, let's consider that a differential change appears within the input signal, and obviously since the AC signal I have applied, there will be a differential change always around the Q point. The differential change is changing the Q point around the DC Q point, as I have already explained using my animation in my earlier slides. So basically, look at this expression where the small letter followed by the capital letter represents the mix of AC and DC. The capital letter followed by the capital letter represents the only DC, and the small letter followed by the small letter represents only AC. So obviously their summation is the AC and DC mix. Now, due to an incremental change in collector current, and that may happen if you are applying AC signal, so that AC signal, when you are applying, there will be an incremental change in the base emitter voltage, and that will cause the incremental change in the collector current. So I am considering only the collector current, whatever the consequences will be resulted, and that will be followed for all kind of incremental changes. So the incremental change is the collector current I have denoted first the IC plus, and that incremental change is appearing only due to the AC part, because the DC part is fixed and that is constant due to this VCC, which is the fixed value, fixed DC voltage. And due to the another voltage, or another, due to the another value of this IC current, the IC current gets changed into IC minus than the previous one. So the total incremental change will be the difference between IC plus minus IC minus, and that will be resulted through this equation. So right now you can see the incremental change includes only the AC current. The DC current gets cancelled. The incremental change in the case of IC minus, you may consider IC plus minus IC minus also, but here the incremental change I have considered on the positive side, or just greater than these Q point current or the DC collector current. You may consider that incremental change, one is for the positive or greater than the DC current, and another is for the less than the DC current. In that case, the result will appear as IC plus plus IC minus. So they are also representing the incremental change, as their differences in representing over here. So the main fact is that the incremental change includes only the AC current. It does not include the DC current. So this means that although there exists a DC current and DC voltage, when you are considering the AC signal, the presence of the DC voltage sources is overlooked by the presence of by the application of the AC signal. And it is true for all type of potential, all type of DC voltage or DC potential. That means if you consider VBB or any 5 volt, 2 volt, whatever the value you will consider for this DC voltage, is it doesn't matter, because the incremental change is going to overlook the presence of any kind of DC signal. So therefore, in place of this VCC, if you consider even 0 voltage, that also will be overlooked by this AC signal, as shown in this diagram, that if you consider the 0 potential instead of any finite value voltage, that also works. So finally, this circuit can be equivalently represented by this circuit also, because from here you can see the base terminal. If you consider the finally that the DC voltage is replaced by these by the ground potential, and this is obviously true because the output voltage is based on the superposition of the AC current and the DC current. Mind it that the replacement of this ground potential or the zero potential at this terminal is only for the analysis purpose. But in the case of actual circuit, we have to include both the AC and DC because the actual circuit works on the principle of superposition. So when the output will be the summation of both the AC current as well as the DC current, and similarly AC voltage as well as the DC voltage. The the equations what I have discussed just in my earlier slide, the IC plus DC IC plus the AC IC. But in order to analyze this circuit, I may consider the presence of the AC signal only, while the DC signal I can consider it is zero, because there is no need to consider for the DC signal, as I told the reason. And the second reason is that the output current always will be output current and output voltage always will be the superposition of the AC and DC. So finally, when you will construct the final circuit where you will include these AC and DC both, the output signal will be operated on the superposition of these both of these signals. So therefore, when I'm considering the output for the one type of voltage, I can consider the other voltage is zero. And that is why when I have considered the DC analysis in order to establish the Q point and all other stuffs, I have considered the no AC signal was present, and I didn't consider any AC signal at all in my all earlier lecture when I was considering the operating point, because if there will be an AC signal, that will be added up with the DC signal. So therefore, we can safely assume that the DC voltage is zero for our analysis purpose. And finally, this circuit can be reduced down or can be represented by this one, because the base terminal is right now is connected between the base and the ground. So it is base to ground. The RC is connected from the collector to ground. So this circuit is nothing but this circuit in a simpler form. Now the application part. In the case of application, simply replace this BJT by its equivalent model like this. This RB, this capacitor, the external voltage source, and this RC, they are external to the circuit. The internal circuit of this BJT I have replaced by its equivalent model, what I have obtained from the analysis of the small signal model in my earlier slides. So the shaded region represents the BJT itself. So here the RC current is RC resistor is connected between the collector to the ground, and the ground is itself connected to the emitter. So emitter is connected with the ground, and RC is connected from the collector to emitter, which means it is also connected with the ground. And this RB is connected between the base to emitter. So RB is connected from the base to emitter in this equivalent model, and then at this node the capacitor is connected. This node is denoted the base node for the equivalent model. The capacitor is connected, and finally this input source or the voltage source is connected after the capacitor. As in this circuit, the same thing I have connected over here. So right now this entire circuit is representing the fixed bias circuit as shown in this diagram. Now, as I told that the purpose of the capacitor is to block the DC current which exists exists within this AC signal. Now, as I'm going to do the AC analysis, and for the AC analysis, we may consider this capacitor is acting as a short circuit, because for the AC signal, this capacitor will not block the AC current. So, in the next slide, I will consider the capacitor is acting as a short circuit. So look at here. I have placed a short circuit across the capacitor. Now the voltage gain. Voltage gain is equals to output voltage to the input voltage. So output voltage is equals to VC, and input voltage is itself is equals to VI, which is the voltage I have applied. So that voltage out, this ratio can even be written in the form of this VC to VB. So VC to VB and VB to VI. What is VB to VI? There exists no any additional element. between these applied voltage and the base emitter voltage. So obviously the applied voltage is equals to VB and the ratio VB is by to VI is equals to 1. So we only need to find out the ratio of VCE to VBE, this one. But if there would be any source resistance which will appear in series with the source voltage, then VB will not be equals to VI. Here in this case I have not considered the source resistance, but in my successive lectures I have to consider the source resistance in order to make this analysis much more general. But for the time being, VB is equals to VI. VCE can be represented by this expression, which is equals to minus IC, the collector current, times the parallel combination of R naught and RC. The derivation of this VCE is here. It's very simple because VCE is equals to I naught times RC, the voltage across the RC. And what is I naught? I naught is the part of the IC. And look at here, the IC and I naught are directed in opposite directions. So if you consider minus IC, so that will be directed in this direction. So I naught will be a part of that. So this simple apply the current divider rule and you will get the minus IC times R naught divided by R naught plus RC, and that will be the current which is flowing as I naught through the RC. And if you know this I naught, apply this equation to find the VC. So just multiply this RC with this I naught, you will get this equation. So finally, the VC will be resulted as this equation. Again, IC, we know that IC is equals to GM times VB. GM is the transconductance and VB is the base to emitter voltage. And what is VB? Apply a KVL within this input side. If you apply this KVL, so VB will be equals to the voltage across this R pi resistance along with this voltage source which is coming from the feedback side from the, as a feedback from this collector to emitter voltage. So these two term will be included as a VBE. And next, what is our purpose? Our purpose is to find the ratio VC to VBE. So since the VC exists in both of these output side and input side, just replace the VC from here to here. You can do the opposite one also. After replacing these things, you will end up with this expression. And here another thing I have to replace, that is this IC, because I have to take the ratio of this VC to VB. So I have to replace this IC from this expression. So once I will replace the IC in this final expression what I have obtained, look, so this will be resulted, and from this expression on the left hand side there is the VB, on the right hand side there is the VB, and there exists a VC. So take this part on the left hand side and take the VB common, take the ratio of VC to VB, and this expression will be resulted. So the voltage gain, total voltage gain is equals to VC to VI, and which is equals to this one, where VB to VI is equals to 1. We have obtained in my earlier slide, and this expression is right now is equals to this one, what I have obtained. Now, what if the early effect is 0, or if we do not consider the early effect? If we do not consider the early effect, obviously the C naught will be equals to 0 and this R naught will be infinity. So if you consider the C naught is equals to 0 and R naught is equals to infinite, so C naught is equals to 0 will make this part 0, leaving this 1 over here. And if R naught equals to infinite, so the parallel combination of this R naught with this RC will leave this RC only, because a finite resistance parallel with the infinite resistance will leave the finite resistance in the expression. So finally, this expression will be resulted for C naught is equals to 0 and R naught tends to infinity. Similar to the voltage gain, let's consider the current gain. The expression for the current gain also be represented as the ratio of the output current to the input current, and that ratio can also be finally represented as the ratios of the output current to the base current times the base current to the input current. Now the base current to the input current, that ratio can be obtained by simple current divider rule, where before applying the current divider rule, you have to consider the short circuit across this voltage source, but keeping its internal resistance along this branch. But in this case also, I am considering there is no internal resistance for this voltage source. Therefore, uh, a short circuit will be placed across this, and finally, simple current divider rule will result this base current. So the base current, which is derived from the input current II, so base current is equals to the input current times this RB divided by RB plus R pi, and this expression will define the ratio, this ratio. Next one is the I naught output current, which is flowing through the RC. And what is that? I naught is nothing but a derived one from this IC. And if you alter the direction of this IC, you have to include a negative sign before this IC, and that is why I have included this negative sign over here. And here also, a simple application of the current divider rule will result this I naught. So I naught is equals to the current along this direction, which is minus IC, times the R naught divided by R naught plus RC. So that is equals to I naught. And IC again further can be replaced by GM into VB, GM multiplied to VB, and GM VB is this one. So minus GM VB is replaced as IC. Again, if you apply KVL within the input loop as I have applied in my last slide, you will get this expression. And finally, in this expression, what is VCE? VCE is nothing but this I naught times this RC. So I am replacing this VCE over here. Because what is our purpose here? Our purpose is to find this ratio is I naught to IB. So here I have obtained one expression which includes this I naught and VB, and I have obtained the second expression which also includes this VB, I naught and IB. So if I replace this VB from this expression to this expression, or the alternatively you can replace from this expression to this expression, you will get an equation which includes this I naught and IB. And finally, you have this expression where this I naught on the left hand side and on the right hand side, both this IB and I naught exist. And from here, if I take the ratio of I naught to IB, so that will be like this. And if I replace this R pi as equals to beta by gm, what I have obtained in my derivation of the small signal model, so this expression will be resulted as this. Now here I did a little rearrangement. Look at here at this expression. If I divide this expression by this RC, I need to multiply one RC over here, and that will result this product then will be represented by this parallel combination of R naught and RC, and then if I do this arrangement, the final expression will be resulted like this. So this parallel combination of this R naught parallel RC times this GM will appear in this expression also, as well as in this expression. Here if you replace this R pi as beta by GM, so this uh, R pi will replace this GM will be cancelled from here, and beta divided by RC will appear in this expression. And the final expression for the current gain will be like this. So along with this ratio, this factor will be included over here. And next is the assumption that if C naught is approximately is equals to 0 and R naught goes to infinity. If C naught is equals to 0, this part will be 0, and finally 1 from this expression the 1 will appear, and if R naught goes to infinity, so this parallel combination will result only with RC. So RC gets cancelled from this numerator and denominator, so beta will appear over here. So minus beta times this factor. Now from this expression you can easily identify why beta is called the forward current gain in common emitter configuration, because if RB is very greater than this R pi, and which is generally the case, so the current gain of this common emitter configuration is equals to this beta, and that is why beta is called the forward current gain. And from the initial definition of beta, I have assumed the beta is the ratio of IC to IB, and here the final expression, whenever you are applying the AC signal, the current gain is equals to the beta if Rb very very greater than R pi and the early effect is neglected. Next is the input impedance and output impedance. So before going to discuss the input impedance and output impedance, we need to understand the importance of the input impedance and output impedance. So here is the device. First I have included over here. You can see this device has an input impedance as Zi. So Vi is appearing across this Zi, where Vs represents the applied source. Don't be confused with this Vi with that Vi I have used as as the input voltage source for my last slide. Here the input voltage source I have just replaced from Vi to Vs, whereas this Vi is the voltage source which is appearing across the input impedance of the device, and that device is represented by this shaded region. And in this case I am considering the voltage input, and next case I will consider the current input. In both of these cases the input impedance is appearing in a similar way, although the sources are appearing in different way, because for the voltage source the source resistance appears in series with the voltage source, and for the current source the source resistance appears in parallel with the current source. So for the first case, the Vi, which is the voltage appearing across the input impedance of the device, or which is the actual voltage the device is going to process, that is equals to Vs times Zi divided by Zi plus Rs. Simple voltage divider rule you can apply. Now if Zi is very very greater than this Rs source resistance, then Vi can be approximately is equals to the source voltage, and which is required, because if it is not the case, that means if Zi is not very very greater than this Rs, or even Rs is comparable with the Zi, whatever, then the total Vs will not be applied across this input impedance of the device. Some of the voltage will be lost by the dissipation across this Rs, and which will be considered as complete loss, because that part of the voltage is not going to the device and not being processed further. Similarly, for the current source also, when you are applying the current source, our purpose will be to drive the entire source current through the input impedance of the current of the source voltage of the device. But if the since there exists a source resistance, if the source resistance is smaller or comparable with the input impedance, some part of the current will be passed through this source resistance, through its own source resistance, and the rest will pass through the input impedance of the device. So in order to uh, drive all the source current through the input impedance of the device, we must have this condition that Zi very very less than Rs, or in other words Rs must be very very greater than the input impedance. And that is why for an ideal voltage source we generally consider the zero source resistance, and for an ideal current source we consider the infinite source resistance. Importance of the output impedance. Let's consider that this is a device, and within this device, it is a voltage device which is producing, or which is basically amplifying the input voltage, and it is producing the output voltage, which is an amplified version of the input voltage. So input voltage is Vi, and it is amplifying by this amplification factor AV, and this amplified voltage is appearing internal to the device, and that is why I have placed that source within the shaded region, and that means that the amplified voltage exists within the device itself. And before reaching the amplified voltage to the load impedance, or to appear across the load impedance, there exists an output impedance of the device. So if this output impedance becomes comparable with the load impedance RL, this voltage, the amplified voltage, will be some part of the amplified voltage will drop across the output impedance of its own output impedance, and that will not appear across the load impedance. So therefore our purpose is to drive the load impedance by this amplified voltage, but since there exists an output impedance, so some of the part of the output amplified voltage will be lost by being dropped across its own output impedance, or its own impedance. So that will not be available across the RL. So for a voltage output, we have to follow this condition that Z naught very very greater than RL. So in order to make your device widely applicable, you have to follow this condition. Why it is widely applicable? Because if you apply very high impedance, high load impedance, so in that case this condition may be followed by, but for the case of low load resistance, this condition may not be followed. But this condition will be followed for the low load resistance if you maintain this condition, that is if the output impedance is very low, less than whatever the load resistance you will use. And that is why in ideal case Z naught will be 0. For the ideal voltage output, Z naught will be 0. Similarly, for the current output case, so the amplified current will be represented by another current source, that's AI, II, as I have shown over here. And since the amplified signal is also a current, the output impedance for a current output, for the current output, the output impedance also will appear in parallel. Whereas in this voltage output, the output impedance was appearing in series, it is appearing in parallel with the current source. So our purpose is to drive the entire amplified current through the load, but since there exists a output impedance, some part of the current may pass through to its own output impedance. So therefore, this condition must be hold, that Z naught must be very greater than the load impedance. And if this condition holds, the most of the current will be driven through the load impedance rather than its own internal impedance or the output impedance. So these are the importance of the input impedance and output impedance. So therefore we have to study the input impedance and output impedance. And next I'm going to find the input impedance for the fixed bias circuit. The input impedance, which is defined as the ratio of the input voltage to input current, can be found very easily. First, apply the KCL at this node to find the II, to find the expression of the II, the input current, and which is equals to the current through the RB, and that is equals to VB divided by this RB plus this IB. And since VB is equals to VI, I can replace, and I have replaced this VB as VI in this expression. Next, apply KVL within this branch, and you will get this VB is equals to voltage across this resistance, which is nothing but IB times R pi plus this voltage. And since VB is equals to VI, I have replaced the same thing over here. But in this expression, VC exists, and that is the property of the output terminal. Therefore, I have to consider the voltage at the across the RC. So VC is nothing but the I naught times RC, where this I naught is equals to, or I naught is derived from this IC. Therefore, if you include this IC, so that will give you this minus IC times this parallel combination of R naught and RC, and which will result the VC. And this expression actually I have discussed in my earlier slide. And here just replace this IC by GM times VB and VB as VI, so you will get this expression. Now simply represent this VC from this expression to the previous expression, and you will obtain an expression of IB which includes VI only. What is our purpose in this case? Our purpose is to find the ratio of VI to II. So wherever I have any other variables other than this VI and II, I should have to replace all of them. So first of all, I have replaced this VC from this expression. Now I have obtained this expression for the IB current, and I need to replace this IB in this expression. And once I will replace this IB over here, so since VI exists, so take this VI common and divide this II to the VI, you will get 1 inverse or inverse of this ZI, which is equals to this expression. And if you consider that C naught is equals to 0, so the expression at the numerator will leave only 1, and the input impedance will appear as the parallel combination of this RB and this R pi. And which is true if you will see that if you are going to consider the zero early effect, which means that C naught is equal to 0, you can replace a short circuit across this voltage source. In that case, this R pi will appear parallel to this RB when you will observe from this terminal. So therefore, by applying this condition, we can easily say that our derivation is correct in that sense. Next is the output impedance. So in order to find the output impedance, we have to make an assumption. first the assumption is this, we have to make all the input sources 0. So in this case, the only input source is the Vi itself. So we have to make it 0. So making Vi 0 means we have to place a short circuit across this terminal. If this circuit was driven by the current source, then making a current source 0 means we have to make open circuit across this terminal. So right now I am making a short circuit across this terminal. So making Vi is equals to 0 will make automatically Vb is equals to 0, because Vi is equals to Vb already we have seen in my earlier slide. These circuits represents the uh, short circuit which I have placed across the input source. So therefore the Vi as well as the Vb become 0 simultaneously. And since I am interested to find this Vc, the ratio of the output impedance, which is equals to the ratio of the output voltage to output current. So right now I am considering the output current is flowing through along this direction. So this is a total output current is flowing along this direction, and this Vc is the output voltage I am considering over here. Apply the KVL loop around the input loop. So if we apply the KVL around the input loop, you will obtain this expression, where initially we know the VV was equals to the voltage across this resistor and this voltage. But since right now VV is equals to 0, so V pi is equals to minus C naught VC. And this expression states that initially in our circuit model, we have seen that this current source is defined as GM times VB. But being VB is equals to 0 does not mean that this current source also will be 0 in this particular case, because the KVL loop around the KVL around the input loop shows that the V pi is equals to C naught times Vc. So therefore, although Vb is equals to 0, V pi is not equals to 0, and that is that includes the voltage across the Vc or times the C naught, which is due to the early effect. So therefore, right now this current source will be defined as the Gm times V pi. Yes, obviously, if you are going to consider this zero early effect by considering C naught is equals to 0, then V pi also will be 0, and then this current source will be 0 also. But right now, this current source will be driven by this voltage. So this will be represented as Gm times V pi. And this is the output admittance. As I told, I can easily consider this output admittance. You can consider as inverse of this impedance, output impedance. So the steps to follow this output admittance in order to find this impedance is much more easier rather than finding these output impedance directly. So therefore, I have considered this output admittance first. So which is equals to the ratio of the output current to the output voltage, and output current I am considering over here I dash C. Now apply KCL at the output node. That means at this point, at this red node. So if you apply the KCL at this node, so IC dash will be equals to the current through this branch, that means the RC, which is nothing but VC divided by RC, plus the current through the R naught, which is equals to Vc divided by R naught, plus the IC current, which is nothing but Gm times V pi. Right now I'm using V pi over here. So this was the initial expression. Now from this expression you can easily divide this Vc, and you will obtain this Y naught in terms of this expression, the 1 by Rc plus 1 by R naught, or you can easily identify what this expression is. This is nothing but the parallel combination of Rc and R naught plus Gm times the ratio of V pi to Vc. And from my earlier slide, already you have seen what is V pi to Vc, that is minus C naught. So just replace this V pi to Vc as minus C naught, and you will get the expression for output admittance. And similar to the previous assumptions, if you are going to consider the zero early effect by considering C naught is equals to 0, so the output admittance is nothing but the parallel combination of this RC and R naught. And along with that, if you are going to consider the early effect is 0 for the output side also, which means that R naught goes to infinity, then the output impedance will be RC itself. This table includes the summary of all of the results what I have obtained throughout this lecture. This is the actual expression for the voltage gain, and if you consider this C naught is equals to 0, the voltage gain will be resulted using this expression, and further if you consider this R naught tends to infinity, the voltage gain will be resulted through this expression also. And here, what is beta? Beta is the current gain. If you consider this approximation that RB is very very greater than R pi, beta is the current gain. What is RC? RC is the output impedance. If you consider this R naught goes to infinity and C naught goes to 0, so RC will be the output impedance. And what is R pi? If you consider that RB is very very greater than R pi, so R pi is going to define your input impedance. So voltage gain is nothing but is equals to minus of the current gain times the output impedance divided by the input impedance. And that is why the transistor is called the transfer resistor. So the resistors are being transferred from the input side to output side, and at output the ratio of these resistors are being amplified by this current gain factor, and that is the voltage gain. Similarly, the expression for the current gain can also be reduced down for this approximation. C naught is equals to 0 and R naught is equals to 0, and that is why beta is called the forward current gain. Input impedance holds this expression for the which includes all the parameters, and when you apply this approximation, so final expression for this uh, input impedance will remain same. And for C naught equals to 0 and R naught tends to infinity, both of these equation remain same, uh, because if you are considering C naught is equals to 0, this factor goes 0, and finally you are living with this factor. Output impedance holds this expression, and C naught is equals to 0 will result this expression, and finally if you consider this R naught tends to infinity, so your output impedance will be reduced down to RC. Here although I have represented the impedance as output admittance, but the impedance will be just inverse of this admittance, so that will be RC.